Welcome into Texans today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, the 2025 NFL Draft. My guy, just like AJ80 is our guy. I'm going to talk about some guys in this draft that I absolutely love. And now this isn't saying these are the best guys in the draft. I'm not saying these are even, some of the very best fits for the Texans in this draft. But we all have those guys where it's like, kind of fall in love with these prospects, and you're like, I know it might be far-fetched, but I want the Texans to draft these guys. I'm going to tell you who those guys are in today's show. But before we get going, quick reminder, tap in on Wednesday, our pre-draft live special extravaganza with show guest Aaron Wilson. This Wednesday, April 16th, 5 p.m. Central Time. Set your alarms. Get ready and come correct with some questions around the 2025 NFL Draft and your Houston Texans. Let's get into first, maybe the least surprising guy in this video. I've been talking about Donovan Jackson for the past 2 months like he's my brother. Like we're family, me and Donovan Jackson, but we're not, obviously. We might look a little different, but, hey, different mothers, we're all good. My brother from another mother, Donovan Jackson, coming from Houston, Ohio State, very versatile guy, and he's just a team-first guy. No matter what the team needs, he's willing to do it. When Josh Simmons went down for Ohio State, he moved over to left tackle and arguably played some of his best ball of his entire career for Ohio State in that college football playoff run. And when asked about, Donovan Jackson, these are some of the quotes around him, right? Barron Sorrell from UT said the toughest offensive tackle I faced in 2024 because of his preparation. And he played in the SEC against some of the best offensive linemen, guys that are going to be playing on Sundays in the future. Chip Kelly, his offensive coordinator, now the OC of the Raiders, said this: one of the true leaders of our team, one of the guys I can count on. Donovan Jackson. That's who you want with a round one selection. You want somebody who is a team leader, somebody that prepares better than anybody else, and somebody that when his number is called, even if he's not the most athletic, even if he's not the most gifted, is going to answer the bell. That is Donovan Jackson, and that's why he is one of my guys. Now, let's look at another offensive lineman, Tyler Booker. And I know after the Combine, a lot of people were out on Tyler Booker, and I get it. It's hard whenever somebody doesn't perform at the Combine and you see kind of some of the stuff on paper where you're like, Jeremy, how are we going to draft somebody whose RAS score, relative athletic score, looks just like Kenyon Green? I know, but when you watch the film, when you put on the tape, it's much different. And our guys at the Combine talked with Tyler Booker, and I'm going to show you the clip here in just a second, but tell me this clip right here doesn't give you absolute chills thinking of Tyler Booker on the Texans offensive line. This is what he had to say.
Everybody loves to play football when it's easy, but who loves to play football when it's hard? And I feel like that's what separates the good guys from the great guys at the game of football. And then ultimately, I just love the aggressiveness and the tenacity of the game of football, like how is legal assault out there. And I love football because the brand of football that I play, I make guys not love football anymore. And I do that every down by really just giving them my all and letting them know I'm not going to let up. So the thing I love the most about football is taking the love away from other people.
Booker is an absolute dog. He's out there manhandling guys. And you want to talk about that swarm mentality. DeMeco Ryans always preaches swarm mentality, right? Special work ethic and relentless mindset. A relentless mindset. This dude is trying to strike fear. This dude is trying to ruin guys' days on the football field. That is what Tyler Booker does on football fields, on an NFL field. That's what he's going to do. He's going to try to manhandle somebody, make somebody wish they had to go up against one of the other 4 linemen that the Texans have. That's why I don't care about his relative athletic score. I don't care about how he did at the Combine. Watch the film, watch the tape, and listen to this guy speak, and you would be in on Tyler Booker to be the guard for the Houston Texans. I'm not out on Tyler Booker. I would be fine with the Texans taking him with pick 25. But let me know down in the comment section where are you at, because I know a lot of people were worried after the Combine with all the stuff around Tyler Booker. Are you out on him? Let me know. Yes or no. Give me your reasoning down below in the comment section. Next up, and the Texans need O-line, so I'm going O-line heavy in my video of guys. Jonah Savaiinaea from Arizona. He's a very, kind of the same thing I said about Donovan Jackson, a versatile offensive lineman. And he's somebody who, is getting mocked in round 2, round 3, and I kind of thought to myself, day 1, Donovan Jackson, Tyler Booker, but day 2, I wouldn't mind double dipping, even if you do draft one of those guys, getting a guy like Jonah right here on day 2, in round 2 or round 3 of the NFL draft, because he does give you that position flexibility. He played a lot of tackle at Arizona, but can also kind of scoot in and play guard, and I think he has the athletic traits. He has, the ability to really translate at the next level and be a good guard day 1. And he has a really good mindset as well, to where I think he fits with what DeMeco Ryans wants in this locker room in terms of leadership and guys that he wants wearing that Texans jersey. This is what Jonah Savaiinaea actually had to say at the Big 12 Media Pro Day.
It'll definitely be my mindset, just being able to stay poised all game. Doesn't matter what situation we're in, down 2 touchdowns, whatever it is, whoever's across from me, I'm able to stay poised through it all, just being able to be level-headed.
And this is something that the Texans offensive line absolutely needs, is somebody who has a next play mentality. If I don't know if y'all watch Ted Lasso out there, but what he says about goldfish, right? Goldfish have 10-second memory spans. You need to forget about the last play and go on to the next play. And I feel like Jonah Savaiinaea can be that. There's too many times this past year where the Texans offensive line, they had a couple down plays and it just kind of spiraled and snowballed down. Look at that Minnesota game with the amount of false starts that Jeremy Chuggs had. It was kind of like when one thing happened, it was a domino effect, and the rest of the game, the Texans offensive line just couldn't recover. We need guys that can go on to the next play, even no matter what happened. If they let up a sack, if they let up whatever, they need to go on to the next play and be better and prove that that bad play isn't who they are. That was just one mistake, and they can rebound from it. Now, coming up, I have more of my guys in the 2025 NFL Draft. But before we get into more of these offensive guys, got to give a shout-out to today's sponsor, Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Texans Today and Chat Sports, my go-to place to get last-second tickets, and it should be yours too. No matter if you're getting, football, sports, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy shows, whatever, you can get 60% savings on average whenever you go to Game Time, because as the event gets closer, the prices, they're going to drop, and that's where Game Time has you covered. Where are my basketball fans at? The Rockets are red hot heading into the playoffs. They are the number 2 seed in your Western Conference, and no matter who they play, Warriors, Grizzlies, it doesn't matter. Pez dispenser, Res dispenser, it doesn't matter. Rockets in 5, and you better show up. Make Toyota Center loud. Get that home court advantage and be there with our friends at Game Time. They have all-in prices to show you exactly what you're paying without hidden fees or expenses. And Game Time has zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for an average savings of 18%. Game Time also has a feature called Game Time Picks. It basically filters out all the fluff, so you don't have to waste hours looking through tickets. It shows you the best deals on the app up front, so you can just get those and get going onto whatever event you're trying to go to. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Smitty? It's Game Time. There we go. Now, let's talk about some other offensive guys that are my guys in this draft. Tre Harris, somebody who I have slowly started to fall in love with through this pre-draft process. And I actually got into a little debate with my guy Stressens. Shout out to Garrett on Twitter. Texans Stressens. He was telling me, I don't think Tre Harris fits with this offense. And I disagree. I don't think that you can look at a guy like Tre Harris as a only X-style receiver and say, oh, we already have Nico Collins. It doesn't fit. You want ballers. You want guys who can absolutely show up and show out on the football field, and that's Tre Harris. He's somebody that he can beat the guy across from him, and that's the most important thing. He can beat the guy across from him, and he can win on man-to-man coverage. He can win, whoever's facing going up across from him, he can beat that guy and get to the next level. Now, oh, thank you, Smitty. I appreciate that. I was just about to say, this stat is something that whenever I saw it, my jaw kind of dropped a little bit. Yards per route run. Trey Harris, 5 yards per route run. The second in the country. The next best, 3.6. He is a deep play threat. He is going to be able to air the ball down the field. And think of some of the best plays with C.J. Stroud. That deep ball to Nico Collins up against the Bills. Those deep balls to Tank Dell. I remember that one against, I believe it was the Cardinals, where he had that insane catch in the end zone. We want somebody that can help big plays, that can stretch the field, get the ball out of Stroud's hand, and let him go. And Trey Harris is a yak machine. I don't care if you match him up as the X receiver, Z receiver, A, B, C, D, E, F, G receiver. No matter where you put Trey Harris, he is going to ball the F out. And, look at these numbers, right? 1,000 yards this past year at Ole Miss. And he has steadily gotten better each and every single year in college, starting out at Louisiana Tech. And I also found these numbers pretty interesting from the 33rd team this year, right? Over 1,000 yards. He had an astonishing 11.06 yards per route run versus man coverage in 2024. These are his stats. 36 routes run, 15 catches, 398 yards, 26.5 yards per catch, and 4 touchdowns in man-to-man coverage. You're telling me with Nico Collins on the other side, who's going to get doubled, he's going to get single-man coverage, and these are his stats against those guys? Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with taking a guy like Trey Harris in round 2 or round 3 to pair with Nico Collins, Christian Kirk. I don't care if you think that Nico Collins is an X receiver. I want playmakers. I want guys who can score the touchdown or score the ball, get those touchdowns for C.J. Stroud. And that is Trey Harris. One more guy on offense I got to talk about. Rashard Smith, running back, SMU. He's somebody who I think, and I know I said, not all these guys are going to be the perfect fit for the Houston Texans. I actually think Rashard Smith is the perfect fit for the Houston Texans and what they need at the running back spot. You think of it. You want somebody to pair with Joe Mixon, right? You want a third down back, somebody who catches the ball out of the backfield, somebody with some pop, some big playability, right? Rashard Smith, he is a sub 4.4 guy. He ran in the 4.3s for his 40-yard dash. He's a former wide receiver at Miami who converted to a running back at SMU. He has great hands from the backfield, and somebody who, as a change of pace back from Joe Mixon, I think could be the perfect 1-2 punch for this Texans backfield. I think Rashard Smith in round 4, round 5 would be an amazing, just puzzle piece fit for the Houston Texans for this offense. That's why he is one of my guys in this draft. Here's some honorable mentions, though, for some other guys that I really like in this draft. Kelvin Banks Jr., I don't feel like he's going to fall to the Texans, but if he's there, I know I've said I love Donovan Jackson, but if Kelvin Banks Jr. is there at 25, that's going to be a very hard pick for them not to take him because he's an amazing left tackle, and I think even if you move him in for left guard for a couple of years, I think he'll be amazing. Jalen Noel, the wide receiver from Iowa State, I really like him. Nick Nash from San Jose State, he's another big-bodied wide receiver who just goes up and gets the ball. Raheem Rocket Sanders from South Carolina, a late round running back who I absolutely love. Kind of the same stuff I said about Rashard Smith. He can catch the ball to the backfield, and he has that pop, that sub 4.4 speed. I really like Raheem Sanders. And Oronde Gadsden II from Syracuse. He was Kyle McCord's main option at Syracuse, one of the top guys there in that offense. And I think with Nick Caley as the OC, a tight end guy, somebody with this talent, kind of, reminds me a little bit of like a Brevin Jordan, of a pass-catching tight end who can really take the top of the defense from time to time. I really like Oronde Gadsden II. Now, here are some of my top defensive guys, my guys on the defensive side of the football. First up, Darius Alexander. And he's somebody who I do like to fit with the Texans. His former D-line coach is now one of the assistants for the Texans on their defensive staff. But watching Darius Alexander, he's a big dude, and how he's able to move is very impressive. 6'3", almost 6'4", 305 pounds. I know the stats don't jump off the page right here, 40 tackles, 3.5 sacks, but when you account his pressures as well and his tackles for loss, very impressive the past 2 years at Toledo. 8 tackles for loss this year, 3.5 sacks. Last year, 6 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, but those pressures, 46 pressures and 37 pressures. He is a rock in the middle of the defense. Now, I think he might slide down some draft boards because he's a little bit on the older side, right? He's older than 25, so he's somebody who teams might be a little bullish on him, taking him early on in the draft because they might want a younger prospect that they can mold. But if he's there in round 3, Darius Alexander, I don't think he makes it all the way to round 3, but if he's there, oh yeah, I would be very, very interested. Let's go to another guy, and this might be just because, you know, we live in the state of Texas. I watch a lot of Texas A&M games. Barron Sorrell. I feel like he doesn't get nearly the amount of love, and one of my producers, Sam, is giving me the horns down in the background. Let me know if you like the Longhorns or not. If you are a fan of the Longhorns, which I'm guaranteed there's a pretty good crossover of, you know, Houston Texans fans, Longhorn fans, you know about Barron Sorrell. And if you watch the college football playoff, you probably also know about Barron Sorrell. He was one of the best pass rushers for Texas this year. And I love his motor. He gets after the quarterback every single down. And like I said, I don't feel like he's getting the love he deserves as a guy for the past 3 years to have pretty solid numbers and pretty, you know, on par numbers each and every year. 2022, he had 9 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks. In 2023, 5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. And this past year, 11 tackles for loss, 6 sacks for Barron Sorrell. He's somebody who I will be keeping my eye on. If the Texans maybe want to get a rotational edge rusher in round 5, maybe round 4, I think he's a very good option for the Texans to look at. Let's look at another guy in this draft, Kobe Bryant from Kansas. And our guys who went to the NFL Combine and Big 12 Media Day absolutely were gushing over Kobe Bryant and his just ability to, in front of the mic, have that character and be so real, be so honest, really down to earth. Everything that I've heard from the guys here at Chat Sports say that Kobe Bryant, a really good guy. And something that I really picked up on and I really liked is one of our guys here at Chat Sports asked Kobe Bryant about the Houston Texans because he is friends with Kamari Lassiter and about how Houston's building a culture here. And I'll let Kobe tell you what he has to think about Houston and our secondary.
Yeah. They say they like dogs, so my dog, Kamar Lassie there, that's one of my close friends. So, yeah, I'm a dog. Yeah, I met with a lot of teams, bro. I met with a lot of teams.
So, obviously, as you heard right there, he's met with a lot of teams, one of them being the Houston Texans. He talked with them at the Combine, and I really do think Kobe Bryant would fit as a guy to help out this secondary on the back end. We have Kamari Lassiter, we have Stingley, but behind them, we don't have a lot of depth. And if a guy like Kobe Bryant falls into the 3rd round, maybe even the 5th round, I would be hard-pressed, pun intended, to not have the Texans select Kobe Bryant. Look at these numbers. 2024, 11 pass breakups, 4 interceptions. 2023, 9 pass breakups, 4 interceptions. He just has a knack for getting his hands on the football, which we know this Texans defense loves them some takeaways. Add another guy like Kobe Bryant into the secondary as some depth. So just in case anybody gets injured, we're still good on the back end. I'd be perfectly fine with taking a guy like Kobe. Now, let's go to my next guy, Caleb Ransaw from Tulane. Tulane? One of those was right that I just said. Tulane, Caleb Ransaw. I say it funny so often that I honestly forgot how to say it. But I really like Caleb Ransaw, and it's funny enough, I had made this video, or I was starting to put together this video before the Texans extended Jalen Petrie, and my thought process with Caleb Ransaw was, he reminds me a lot of Jalen Petrie. Is one of those guys who is almost like a sub linebacker safety hybrid, can kind of play all over the field. And whenever you watch his tape, he's kind of like a missile out of a cannon, right? He's somebody who is a hard-hitting guy, not afraid to put his helmet on somebody's chest. And I like his ability to just be up in your face. And that kind of fits with what DeMeco Ryans wants in that swarm mentality. First 3 years at Troy, then this past year for the big Fighting Green Wave over there at Tulane. I really like Ransaw. And as a late-round guy, as somebody who might slide down draft boards, another guy, maybe a good value guy. And maybe the most deep sleeper, great value guy in this entire NFL draft. And shout out to our expert, Tom Downey, for putting me on this guy. Antoine Powell-Ryland. I don't know how he's not being talked about at all in this draft. Maybe it's because he lacks a little bit in the run game. But in a league where pass rushing is important, look at this past year's Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. What was the biggest factor in that game? The Eagles getting after Patrick Mahomes. And you're telling me a guy, Antoine Powell-Ryland, where I'm going to have Smitty throw up the stats for his career. Look at these numbers. All of them correct. Me and Smitty checked the numbers before we started filming this. 19 tackles for loss, 16 sacks, 48 pressures in 2024. Oh, maybe it was a fluke year. Let's look at 2023. 15 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks, 48 pressures. I mean, even the year before, 3 sacks, 23 pressures with his time at Florida. I mean, Antoine Powell-Ryland might be one of the most talented, just pure pass rushers in this draft. I know he's a little short, right? Under 6'3", 260 pounds. Maybe the arm length is a little bit of a concern. And I know there was maybe a little bit of a concern of him going up against some better tackles once he gets into the NFL. I don't care, dude. If he's there in round 7, on ESPN's Matt Miller just dropped his big board. He's 234th. He's saying 233 people are better than Antoine Powell-Ryland in this draft. I find that hard to believe of somebody who racked up 16 sacks for Virginia Tech. It's not like he's playing in FCS. He's playing up against real schools, and he's putting up these numbers. Yeah, I would be if he falls to round 7, I'm running that card up there for the Texans to take him. I know you have Will Anderson Jr. I know you have Danielle Hunter. But why not get another guy waiting in the wings? Danielle Hunter, the Texans extended him this offseason, but he is getting up there in age, and you could always use rotational pass rushers. You can always use people to get fresh bodies in on the defensive line. And in a league where you need to get after the quarterback, why not get somebody who's really, really good at doing just that? Here's some other guys that I really like in this draft. TJ Sanders, he's actually met with the Houston Texans. Another really good defensive tackle, played for South Carolina. Ty Robinson, just a farm boy from Nebraska. Another defensive lineman that gives you flexibility throughout all of the different positions along the defensive line. Vernon Brockton from Texas, a big body nose tackle type of guy. Another horns down from my guy, Sam Brown. Siobhan Revel Jr., defensive back from ECU, injured this past year. Very intriguing prospect. If he wasn't injured going into this draft process, could be a first-round talent type of guy. And Andrew Makuba from Texas, another one of those Swiss Army knives. I could see the Texans looking at him in round 3 through 5. Another really, really good defensive back to add to this Texans secondary. Now, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you want to hit me up, if I missed anybody or if you totally disagree with me on anybody, hit me up on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs. Let me hear about it. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Me and Aaron Wilson going live on Wednesday. Don't miss out. Make sure you hit that sub button and turn on your notifications.